covering the stories that impact your life, your town, your state, and your future. This is the Means Report with your host, Brad Means.
Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to the Means Report. We certainly appreciate you spending part of your day with us, where today we are going to talk about some exciting news coming out of Augusta University. The Board of Regents just signing off on a brand new degree program. We're going to look at the work that went into it and what path you can pursue if you want to become Dr. Cyber, because it is basically the highest level you can get when it comes to cybersecurity and intelligence and defense. And we'll meet the man who led the team behind it all. We'll also talk about mental wellness and behavioral health and how there's a special event coming up that can help you be your best self. So many resources out there. Speaking of resources, we need you to direct us to the right ones, and that's why we're going to show you how to stay in touch with us at the end of this broadcast. But first, let's kick it off with Dr. Craig Albert. He is the director of Augusta University's Master of Arts in Intelligence and Security Studies program, a frequent guest on the Means Report, walking us through all things political. And we're glad you're back for this occasion. Craig, how are you?
Very well. How are you?
Doing great. Congratulations, because why settle at a master's degree when you can get a PhD? And now the Board of Regents, as I mentioned, has signed off on this intelligence, defense, and cybersecurity policy program where you can get a PhD. It seems overwhelming, and so let's start at the beginning. How long did it take? How much work was involved in being able to present a package, if you will, to the state to say, hey, AU's capable of teaching a PhD level program here?
It was just a couple days of work.
Yeah, no problem.
No, I guess from conception until the Board of Regents signed off on August 14th, it was about 3 or 4 years of behind the scenes work between myself, the master's faculty that really contributed and helped design the curriculum for the PhD. These are the experts in the field. You know, they publish a lot, they understand the field, and so I had to rely on every faculty member in the program to help me say, hey, what would be the best classes? What's the best platform for all of this? And then it's the entire Department of Social Sciences and Pamplin College that really just invested so much time and energy into supporting the idea, supporting my release from teaching for a couple semesters so I could actually do all the groundwork of writing in collaboration with everybody else in the program. And then you have the big shots at AAU, right? The big bosses that had to approve everything and say, yes, this looks good to send to the board. And they drafted everything after I wrote it and made it look polished and finalized and merited to go to the University System of Georgia. So that's why I love AAU, because it's a collaborative effort, across departments, colleges, to the whole university administration to support something like this.
Yeah, and to the Board of Regents' credit, they recognize the excellence that you all had achieved with all of your behind the scenes work, and they signed right off on it, didn't they?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was no discussion or anything, so it was pretty exciting to see and just be in the room. We watched it at the college side all together with my deans and chair, and it was just an awesome moment.
All right, so when I read words like intelligence, defense, cybersecurity policy, and I think about somebody getting their PhD in those studies, what do they do after that? Are they involved in matters perhaps of national security?
Perhaps, yes.
Definitely,
yes.
Yeah.
So the entire program is, first of all, centered around national security of the United States. And it's really the first PhD in the world that focuses on combining intelligence studies and analysis, defense studies, and cybersecurity policy, including influence and propaganda operations in the cyber domain, that focuses on the U.S.'s national security. And so it's really aligned to people either into industry already, so they work at an agency, they work at DOD. And if you read the recent national authorization request for funding from the military, you'll see that there are lines in there for education, and the DOD has specifically requested more PhDs to be working so that they can understand strategic level thinking through academic literature, policy, and strategy. And that's exactly what we do in this program, is provide policy documents, armed service doctrine, U.S. doctrine from every aspect of the United States government that you can think of, and combine it with all the academic theoretical understanding and abstract literature that exists. So by the time a student comes out, They know the doctrine, where the U.S. sits, compared to our near-peer adversaries in a particular domain, and the theoretical academic features of these particular subjects. So they just come out, what I like to say is like a Renaissance security studies scholar, where they understand the full spectrum. And that's what sets this degree from other like international relations or political science degrees, is that no, you come out an expert in each of these areas.
I mean, a future Secretary of State could emerge from your program.
Absolutely. President.
One of the key components is intelligence analysis and prediction. Is that basically studying what our enemies are doing and being able to guess what they'll do next?
Yeah, so we teach what's called, in the program, we'll have a class called intelligence analysis, a couple of those classes, and you really learn the different structured analytic techniques. So what intel analysts do in the different agencies, how they process information from just pictures or images or signals intercepts into what's called a finalized intelligence product. And so what the agencies have to spend money on teaching their employees to do once they're hired, we'll teach them in the PhD program how to do this, but not just the process and methodology, but also all the academic literature that surrounds how to do it, how it's been done in the past, a historical understanding of it, and moving into the future. And so students will come out with the doctrine, the know-how, the technical know-how on intelligence analysis with that theoretical knowledge.
All right, real quick, because we are so going to run out of time, but just to wrap up this PhD program part of our talk, you would go undergrad, master's, PhD?
Sometimes you can apply right from the undergrad. So
Okay.
if you have an undergraduate major, you can apply to the PhD. It just makes the program about a year longer. And if you have a relevant master's degree, it can take time off of the PhD.
Okay, so all in, let's say you go undergrad to PhD, is it 2 years, 3?
4 years for the
4.
PhD. It's 84 credits.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, you're going to come out just brilliant when you're finished with it, though, which is just wonderful. How much of what we see on social media, and I know your students study this, is propaganda, is the efforts of people who would love to see America's demise? Is it a good chunk of what we see on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, Craig?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just inundated with disinformation, misinformation, malinformation, propaganda, especially from state actors, including the state of Russia and the Chinese Communist Party.
Would it look like a legitimate poster? In fact, like, there's Joe Smith. I trust him. Let me read his post today. But that's not really Joe Smith. That's Russia.
It depends on what agency in the particular states are doing this. By states, I mean countries. Sorry, that's how we refer to it in the academia.
No, I get it.
So if it's a sophisticated operation with a lot of money behind it, let's say from the Chinese Communist Party, it's going to look real. It's going to be fluent English that it's posted in. It's going to be a real account. They're going to have 1,000 friends. They're going to be posting for 5 or 6 years. So you think that, hey, this person's been posting on this stuff for a long time. I'm going to follow this person because it looks real. But the Chinese Communist Party knows this. They've planted fake personas or online personas online a decade ago with the purpose of building, a repertoire, building up a reputation, building up a stance on certain issues, just so it can disseminate fake news, false news, disinformation at a future time. In fact, Brad, they go even further. Sometimes they actually hire, and something just came out in the news recently about this from Russia doing so, they hire American influencers and pay them to push a certain agenda that Russia or China wants pushed at a certain time. So this is really, sophisticated, because it's not a fake account or a botnet or generative AI. It's a person who's already has 1 million followers in the United States, and Russia's paying them to spit out propaganda that makes Russia looks good and sows discord or election interference in the United States. And that's really dangerous.
It's dangerous. It's scary. It makes me not believe anything on my device when I scroll in the morning with my cup of coffee. Let's go back to your students real quick, though. Whether in the master's or PhD program, they'll learn to spot this and thwart it, or both?
Both. So they'll learn how to interpret and understand what mis, and malinformation through propaganda operations are, how the adversaries compare to the United States in this domain. It's called information warfare, which pretty much means the enemy injects tactics into the decision-making processes of the United States and to how we think as individuals. So their purpose is to alter the way we think and make decisions without us actually really knowing it.
Is it to steer us toward a candidate then?
Not necessarily. They just want to sow discord, chaos, and confusion. And so If you're a Democrat, they might want to push you towards a Republican just to confuse you. And so at the end, you might not even show up to vote, which makes democracy look delegitimized in the international arena. Or, they do the same for the opposite side. If they know you're a Republican, they're going to try to switch you to a Democrat. Or they might make you more extreme in your political beliefs so that you don't accept the center or any moderate candidates. And their hope there is to sow civil discord and chaos and eventually civil war.
Well, and you may have just answered it, but if you take discord, chaos, and confusion, can you hope for a country's downfall then? Is that what they want?
That's their purpose. Both China and Russia, the two main adversaries in this domain for the United States, know that they can't fight kinetically against the United States. They'll lose in an armed combat.
100%.
And so they believe that they can bring the United States down using social media warfare, information warfare, by making us or pitting us against one another. And they've done a heck of a job, especially in the past 10 years.
Yeah, I was going to say it's working, isn't it?
It is.
Well, then should we put down our devices and just stay away from social media and go to work and church and go home and go to sleep? Should we believe anything that's out there?
I think it's what Reagan used to say, and I'm not speaking as a partisan or anything.
Sure, you never have.
Trust but verify, right? I think that's good. So if you want to use social media and you want to trust it, okay, just go and verify your sources. Look at 2 or 3 different media outlets, different organizations' messages, and don't accept anything as truth just because you saw it on social media. Go out and verify it through a couple of sources. Unless it's TikTok. And if it's TikTok, yes, delete it. You shouldn't be on the app. It's a national security threat to the United States 100%. In that case, get off of it.
Let me ask you about an honor that you just received in addition to the approval of your PhD program, and that's to be chosen as an education ambassador for the Council of Foreign Relations, CFR. Huge congratulations. What will you be doing? This sounds like a wonderful appointment.
Yeah, so the council, is one of the most prestigious organizations in the world on foreign policy, on international affairs, international relations. And so they seek to bring together different experts, and somehow they classified me as an expert for foreign policy.
Absolutely.
Which, very humbled me. But they produce resources for teaching foreign policy, international relations. They try to network individuals across industry, academia, with students as mentors. They try to place seasoned professors, which now because I'm older, I'm a seasoned professor with younger professors, to try to help them build their research credentials, to try to help them in how they teach and their teaching methodology. Many people don't understand, as professors, we have to do research and we have to be best at teaching. So we have to understand best practices, really how to keep the students interested, which you can imagine is tough today when it's a social media environment to keep a student's attention. Even if they like this subject, you have to learn really the details of your subject as a professor to engage the student where they are.
That's it.
And so the council has the Higher Education Ambassador Program to really help use the sources that the CFR publishes to really make international relations and foreign policy at the forefront of education, hone in on best practices, and really get together research collaboration and networks. And so you kind of become an informal spokesperson, or I guess a formal spokesperson for the organization in this context.
I can't think of a better ambassador. And again, I congratulate you. One quick question, Craig. All of our Social Security numbers we think were compromised. Should we care? I mean, what in the world can we? You talk about living your life and going to work and church and bed. Should we just sort of forget that all of our Social Security numbers were stolen and move on with our lives?
Yeah, the best thing to do is just, turn on your credit monitoring device.
Okay.
Right? So sign on to Experian and freeze your credit. So you should always have your credit frozen. You can unfreeze it for a day if you need to take out a mortgage loan or a car loan or something like that. And then just sign up for these services that give you credit monitoring, like a monthly report, because they'll let you know if something was opened in your name and things like that. So that's really what you have to be aware of, is somebody opening credit cards in your name. Generally, these type of hacks are from cyber criminals, not necessarily a state wanting to do something more nefarious than that. They just want to steal your data, steal your identity in some aspects. For financial purposes or financial gain. So just keep a credit monitoring on your device. If your Social Security was leaked through an organization, usually that organization will pay for your free monitoring. So just get in contact with them to stay aware of that.
Okay, thank you so much. Dr. Craig Albert, a busy man, but a man who has reaped what he sowed recently in a huge way. I congratulate you on everything that's happening.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Great to be back with you. And great to welcome our next guest in just a moment to talk about the importance of mental and behavioral health on the Means Report.